Okay, so we are now starting project number two. This is just it's not really a piggyback because it is a separate video. It's a different uh, um, it's a different model of Mercedes, but this is following the GLK 350 video. So this is our second project. Okay. And this is a 2016 Mercedes-Benz S550. This is the base model. It's not 4MATIC, but based on the work we're doing, that does not matter. Okay, so it's it's considered general maintenance, but it's just a lot of it. Okay. And so, in the confines of time, and again, working as a solo videographer and DIYer, I am kind of pressed for time because this is not my vehicle. This is a very good friend of mine I've known for 20 plus years. He is also my attorney. Um, we're not doing favors for favors, but based on the relationship that we have, well, one, I don't make money from, being a DIYer to begin with. Excuse me. You know, 90%, if not 99% of the vehicles that I'm working on are mine, or maybe, a member of my family, or in this case, a very good friend. And I'm certainly not going to, charge him for work. Plus, it's giving me a different platform to create a video. So, but the charges, that's insignificant. The point being, it's not my car, and I have to get it back. Okay, so we'll see if a bit of sense of urgency, based on a time crunch, will play into how this video rolls out. So, what I'm not going to show, which I would love to show, is a scan tool diagnostics. Um, but I just don't have the time. I've already done it. I've identified what needs to, or where we need to start. Okay. Um, and then we'll just go from there. So bear with me here. I've got to get my Joe. So let's go back here to the front again. Um, for our more confident and experienced DIYers, if you happen to be, a trained service technician professional, again, more than happy for comments that help. Okay, let's do that. Okay, um, but again, I will try to be as intuitive as I can, and I will try to record as much of the work as I can. It just may turn out that, because the very last thing that I'm going to do is the oil change. Okay, that's pretty straightforward, with the exception of getting the car off the ground so that I can get underneath to get to the drain plug. I'll address how I tackle that when we get to it. But here's what needs to be done to this car. Okay. I have at least two or three ignition coils throwing malfunction codes. Okay. I told you that there is an art. It's not really an art. There's a method to diagnosing. Like I said, in some instances, you can have codes that are generic, which gives you a general idea of where to start backtracking to find the root cause. In other instances, you have a pretty decent amount of information that it's not telling you exactly, hey, your number 8 cylinder ignition coil, it's toast. But the message that we're getting, it's pretty evident to me that I'm not going through the process of making sure that the ignition coil has actually started to malfunction, or malfunction could just simply mean that it's not operating within the specified tolerances or parameters that it was operating when it was new. Okay, so it's aged, and essentially, and especially on, um, we've got to get to the manual. That's what I meant to start with, but we'll work it out. Okay. Uh, I think this is the M278 engine. This is the 550, so it's the bi-turbo V8. All right. Um, where was I going? Oh, it's a very, I don't want to say finicky, but it's a very precise in how it operates. So the point being, if you have one coil malfunction, in fact, I'll leave it at one. If you have one, okay, let's replace the one and keep moving. Okay, I've got three. Okay. With the effort that it takes to get the coils out to begin with, for three, all of them are malfunctioning as far as I'm concerned. So we're replacing all of the ignition coils. Have no idea when the spark plugs were last changed, but I've got misfires associated with the engine. Now they're akin to the cylinders that are throwing the ignition coils, and it makes sense, right? Because it's not operating in its required parameter. So it's not firing the spark plug. But what's the point? Again, we've got to pull the ignition coils out. Let's get the spark plugs. All right. So we're replacing spark plugs. We're going to do an oil change and kind of somewhat of a flush. We've got the air filters that need to be replaced. If you remember on the GLK, the intake hoses are these crappy paper element sort of deals where the adhesive, it goes and then your intake hose is toast. So we got new of those. And then the auxiliary battery needs to be replaced. And if I'm not mistaken, the auxiliary battery in this car, it's in the trunk, which means some of the trunk has to kind of come apart, at least the coverings, because it's in the side. So I think I'm going to start with the battery, then move to the ignition coils and the spark plugs, and then I'll make the call on how we handle the oil, because again, I'm doing somewhat of a partial flush. Um, um, and I'm saying partial because in the interest of funding this project, it's not that, my buddy can't afford, quality parts, but, he gave me a budget. That's what I worked with, and that's what we're doing. So, point being, I would have ordinarily had a sacrificial oil, so I would have drained the crap that's in there, put in, this crappy sacrificial oil with this additive that I'm going to use to essentially just kind of break down any potential sludge that may be built up, then flush that out, then put the actual oil in. In this instant, I have to work with what I have, so I'm putting the additive that I have to the oil that's already in the car. Uh, we'll call it a day on that. We can do a more thorough process on the next go around. All right. And then once we finish with the oil, then I'll plug up the scan tool. We'll clear the codes. We'll go for a little test drive. Like I said, I'm going to use the test drive for this platform to get to the auto parts store to get the serpentine belt for the GLK 350. All right. Other than that, that's the introduction. I'm going to take some time to get the car staged in the process, and then we'll just dive in and just start doing some general maintenance repair. All right. Alrighty, my friends. I did mention our owner's manual, and it wasn't in the glove compartment, but it was in his trunk. And so I just did a kind of a cursory review of the owner's manual. And if you recall on the GLK, I was able to show you where you had the nomenclature for the engine as far as what Mercedes designates that engine as. Um, I thought I would be able to find it in the the S class, uh, but unless I'm overlooking it, and again, it's a very cursory review, so I don't really have the time to hunt for it to actually see if it's in there. But I'll flip myself. Okay. Um, I was not able to locate the Mercedes defined nomenclature for the engine based on the S class 2016 S550 or the W222 222 chassis or the M278 engine. Okay, and that's going to become important when we get to the spark plugs. But I at least wanted to see if my theory was correct in how Mercedes does actually, put their engine uh, nomenclature in the service manual, or not the service manual, the owner's manual. Um, if it's not in here, there could be the rationalization that they chose to omit it because there are several different variations of this chassis, i.e., you've got the S550, you've got the S600, you've got the standard wheelbase, you've got the long wheelbase, you've got the S65 AMG, you've got the Maybach, and notice I said Maybach, not Maybach. Okay, it's Maybach. Um, Point being, you've got several different variations of the chassis, and um, they do not all share the same engine platform. So that could be the reasoning why the specific designation for the engine was omitted, because it could potentially become a point of confusion. All right, but this is the M278 engine. If you recall, like I said, Mercedes or different manufacturers, they may use a a specific engine in many types of their models. So this is the twin turbo or bi-turbo V8, and this is the same engine that's in our 2012 E550. So I'm very familiar with the engine. It's M278 on the S-Class base model of 2016 W222 Mercedes-Benz. All right. So I am going to flip the camera back around and start pulling the trunk apart. And hopefully my effort and guess is not in vain, but I am almost certain that the auxiliary battery is in the trunk on the side. So let's get to it. Please pay no attention to the dirty trunk area. Um, there's going to be some detailing done to this car as well. So to get started, we've got again a couple of Torx screws. I can't see the size of my little Torx screwdriver here, but I'm gonna guess maybe a T6. So you need to get, and I'm doing this, because this is the first time I've done this, so I'm shooting from the hip. All right, but we want to get these retain these they're retaining the upper um, trunk cover. All right, and that's covering the little cargo area here. So we have that out of the way, and the reason we need to remove that is because, as you can see, it's kind of overlaying and covering the flap for this side panel here. We can't get this out without removing this stuff. Okay, so let's keep going. We can, I believe, just lift our tray out here. Yep. So our tray comes out. Set this off to the side. Okay, so you have, let's see if we're in the frame. All right, you've got your main battery, and to just give, you know, we're not going to go down and deep into it, but the purpose of your auxiliary battery. So obviously you have your main battery. This is going to start the car. It's going to, you know, do the lion's share of running, you know, all of the accessories, so forth and so on. But again, you have a good deal of, you know, electronic systems and acquisition modules, you know, from navigation to the audio system to the heads-up display to the lane keeping assist. You know, all of these different systems, heavily, you know, with electronics. So including the transmission. The transmission is electronic. All right. So if this main battery goes dead or it loses enough power, you can't start the car. You even you can't even put it in, you know, neutral to move it up, get it up on a flatbed, tow truck, so forth and so on. So you have an auxiliary battery that should this begin to, you know, lose its mouth or a life or start to malfunction, you've at least got enough juice to keep memory for the electronics, be able to get into the car, be able to at least supply enough juice to you know, run it in accessory mode and be able to put your vehicle in neutral. All right, so I need light. I need light. Let there be light. Okay, so we have to remove this chrome trim piece here, and it is held on. Well, there's two little plastic automotive clips. Okay, so I really should have my plastic tools or my plastic clip tools so that I don't break this stuff, but I'm just going to use a flathead and be very gentle. Pop these out. What's up, little buddy? Saying good morning to my lazy wayward son. He's been sleeping his life away. You want to be on a YouTube? You have to stick your face down here. That's my boy. Instead of learning about how to be a man and turn a wrench, he'd rather go and play a stupid video game. So here's what I'm referring to. Little plastic automotive clip. Again, just you should have a plastic too so you don't break these things, but just a flathead will do, and gently pry it up and it comes out. Set it to the side. And then work it out. And it comes out, okay? So that holds the back plate, and at this point you should have some or attached kind of well, let's get it off, but they're automotive clips, so don't be afraid. And again, we should have a plastic pry tool, but I should be able to just, let's see here. Okay, there we go. There we go. All right, so don't just yank it out, but just apply enough pressure to be able to overcome these. And again, we don't want to break these things, okay? So now we've got this beauty trim plate off, again, because it was also covering this overlapping flap for the side cover. All right. All right. Let's work our way through the next step. So up top, we've got we have another one of these clips. So let's get that one out. And you have a light here, okay? So if by chance, if this is the last clip that's holding this side panel in place, don't just yank it out. Pull it out just enough, because you're going to have to undo the electrical connector that's attached to the light, okay? Just get the flathead very gently, pry down on it, and then work it out. Come on, don't make me to be a fool. All right. Okay, now that's undone. All right, I just had to make sure that I was recording. Okay, let's see. All right, we've got, sorry, I'm looking right at it. Okay, we have another one of these little clips. I think this is a retaining clip for cargo netting. Okay, so that's what these are. We've got another one right here, just in front of the cargo net on the side panel. Hopefully, let me see. Yeah, you can see. All right. So we will remove this. And set that out of the way. And just since we've got it exposed, okay, just so you know, again, this is for our newbies and maybe even for some of our more experienced guys, but maybe you just aren't aware. So again, I'm not trying to be insulting. We're talking to our potential new guys that want to do work on their own vehicles, okay? You see fuses in there, okay? So you would just assume, hey, that's the fuse box. Yes, it is, but not in the manufacturer's definition, okay? That is referred to as a signal acquisition module now, okay? And you can kind of consider it part of a network. So it is also monitored by the computer, the engine computer, or the car's computer. You know what I'm talking about. It's one thing I need to work on, which is gonna again, potentially help me when I have somebody else behind the camera. I can think a little bit more clearly. But the point being, these things can go bad. And this is one of the things that I was referring to on the GLK, to where I could replace that all day long. But what I can't do is code it. Okay. So that's just a little tidbit. There's another. There's actually two of these up top, so we'll get the other one. And of course it wants to fight me, so I will just go grab a pair of needle nose. That'll give me leverage. In fact, give me that flashlight that's unplug it. Okay, so with the needle nose, okay, I'm not going from this perspective. Okay, I'm getting in between to gain the leverage to get this portion down. See? See if we can add a little bit more light to the situation. Did that help? Huh? Well, of course. Is this trunk aluminum? Maybe it is, because it's certainly not magnetic, certainly not ferrous. Well, let's see if we can go this route. All right, let's just go with that. Now I've got to get the rest of that portion out. Yep. Here we go. Work yourself out there. There we go. All right. Set that to the side. And notice at this point, I'm essentially only working with 3 tools. So point B, try to work as clean as you possibly can. Don't bring over a whole toolbox. Use what you need, and what you don't need, put it back to where you keep stuff. Now let's see here. Okay, we have another one of these right here. A flat head with a gentle ply gets that one out. Okay, there we go. Now, is there another one? Okay, while we've got the access, we can undo our little electrical clip connector. Okay, we just popped out the 2 there. 1 and 2. So does that also need to come out? Probably. Okay, we've got our 12 volt. So let's undo that connector. Where are you? Where is your release? Release yourself, sir. Release the hounds. There we go. Okay. Now, so for the application, and again, based on the time that we have enough space to get to. So I am correct. There's the auxiliary battery right there. Okay. Now, if I'm not mistaken, yeah. Okay. I'm just going to leave the camera where it is, but you see, let me get something a little bit more visible. Okay, this will have to work for a pointing tool. Okay. Just underneath the signal acquisition module, or the fuse box in basic terms is a retaining nut, okay, that's holding the battery cover in, okay. I can almost definitively, in fact, let me come and flip the cell. So, there we go. This is part of diagnosis and root cause analysis, all right? We did get a specific code, several codes actually, auxiliary battery this, auxiliary battery that. We have a message on the information center inside the car on the electronic dashboard. Yeah, auxiliary battery this, auxiliary battery that. So you would just assume, think, okay, the battery's lost its life. Well, did it? Stay tuned. Did it lose its life? We shall see. Or is there something else going on? Think about it. Maybe you can guess, even if you have a basic understanding of what a battery is and what can go wrong with a battery. All right. I'm using this as a pointer. So, still only have 3 tools so far. All right. Again, we're not going to completely remove that. There's no need to. We've got enough space to get to whatever we need to get to get this battery out. So, we've got some sort of, I forget what this is called, but just for sake of, you've got a little the release clip, so it just comes out, and or the clip pushes out and then it comes out of its little slot. So let's just undo this connector, move it out of the way. Okay, put that up there, and then this is fine for now. Okay, let's go ahead and remove our vent tube, ventilation tube on the battery itself. Let's get that out of the way. And again, in theory, that one retaining nut should release the battery. So I think that's probably 12, maybe a 13. Let's see if the guess is right. Nope, it's a 10. Just as you need the 10, you have to go hunting for it. Yep. 10 millimeter. Grab our little trusty magnet. Get our magnet. Collect the nut. Okay. Set that off to the side. Again, we're going to keep this handy, but at this point now we've got 4 tools. And in fact, I can really put the needle nose away because I don't need those anymore. And that 10mm socket should be the same for the bolts that are on the battery. So if you can see, let's see, let's zoom in some. Okay, so you should be able to see that that battery is kind of like in a tracked retainer, so it should slide out, and conversely it should slide back in. You also have a rubber covering, protective covering over it, and if you're looking close enough, you should, and now that I've zoomed in some too, you should have figured out what the problem is with this battery. At least the visual. So let's see if I can focus that light. Okay. What I'm also going to do is not necessarily a trick, but what's the word I'm looking for? Let's say a little tidbit, or let's just do it. Because you will notice that I did not disconnect the main battery. One, I don't think there's a reason to do so, but then number two, some cars are finicky. You go and disconnect the battery, and you may have to go through some other processes to get it to, perform properly. So the reason I'm covering this is, even though I'm going to use a stubby ratchet, so as to not, as we're turning, touch any metal or ground out and short anything. You don't want to run that risk. So here's what I mean. Let's say by chance, if what we were working on were very low, basically hovering over this metal portion here, and while we're trying to take off the negative part, or the positive, the negative cable, or the not positive cable on the battery, we went and touched this while it's on the battery. Boom, electrocution, so forth and so on. So that's why we're covering this. But I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use here we go. I am going to use this ratchet. As you can see, it's covered with rubber. Okay, so still going to be careful though. But let's now. Am I a liar? It looks like I am a liar. So that will not. Let me just try just to make sure. Okay, so it looks like we have to remove the upper retaining nut on the signal acquisition module box. Actually, there's two. I don't need that much extension. In fact, I don't think I really need this one at all. We're going to keep it handy. So we'll grab our little stubby. One retaining nut, and we're just moving this wire harness, out of the way, but you've got the clearance. And I will grab the extension to finish this one out. So, you need the socket, sir. Okay. All right. Third retention nut gone. So, in theory, this should now come out of the way. Will you come out of the way, please? Pretty please. Did I miss something? What did I miss? 1, 2, 3. Okay, didn't miss anything. All right, we got that out of the way now. Now, let us see. Let us see. Anything else? What's holding that? If you're watching this and maybe you've done this already, don't laugh at me. Trial. Again, this is the first time I've done this. Okay, so here's where we will take a pause. I will find out where I am stuck, and we'll pick up where I find the bottleneck. And just like that, I found the bottleneck. Okay, so as it turns out, in fact, just for chagrin and giggles, let's put this box back in place, because one, we do want to make the complex simple. So did we have to remove the 2 upper retaining nuts? Let's see. Okay, here was the bottleneck. Let's get our pointer. Like I said, you've got that track there, and right in the middle you've got a clip. Okay, here's the clip. Here's the clip right in the middle. Okay, lift up, pull out. So did we need to remove the box? Yes, we do. The signal acquisition box does need to be removed because it is slightly covering a portion. So let's just go ahead and get this back out. There we go. Okay, and then the battery slides out. Okay. Now, we don't have to remove this completely. So as you can see, as you follow along, on the top, you've got, actually on this side, so these pop out, 2 retaining clips on this side. 1, 2, I'm kind of working with 2 fingers, the thumb and forefinger, pulling them back, releasing that top. Now, as soon as we take off this cover, here is our culprit, full of corrosion. Okay, so let's get this metal covered. Now, it doesn't mean that the battery isn't also, depleted its life, but we could take this battery again to one of the auto parts stores, have them check it if you have the time and capability. In my case, I am assuming, and I think it's a safe assumption, that this is probably the battery that this car was born with at the factory. So it's a 2016, we're 2024, 8 years old, but where, let's get this thing pulled out. But fortunately, I was able to locate some gloves, so we don't want to We don't want to deal with that barehanded. I'm not going to knock it off in the, well, it's going to come off regardless. So, but we don't want to deal with that barehanded. So let's get some nitro gloves. We'll bring over some shop towels just in case. When we, when we make our run, when we get this car situated, when we do the test drive for the serpentine belt, we'll pick up some nitro gloves too. Alrighty then. Now again, well, I guess I'm doing this real time, but I am kind of taking my time too. So as you can see the process now, if I were to just have worked through this, you know, or without making a video, or without in the process of making a video, what are we talking replacing an auxiliary battery? Maybe, you know, 45 minutes, 15-ish, 20 to get the pieces that we need out of the way, you know, get to the battery, get our socket on here. Make sure that is a 10. It is a 10. Let's get this socket off. Let's get our protected one. Okay. We'll get the negative cable off first. Come on. Come on. Get on there. So, what we're going to do, I would encourage you, even though we have clearance, we're not, well, we do have metal up top, but I am going to switch back over to my regular size ratchet because I don't have the leverage I need. Let's get our adapter. And just be very careful. There we go. And I mean, this thing is chocked full of corrosion. Now, what I was saying is we could, you know, potentially take the battery, get it tested if you're not, you know, in immediate need of your vehicle. You've got a parts store that's relatively close by to your home. You've got, you know, transportation to get you to and fro. Okay. These auto stores will essentially, as a, you know, courtesy to the customer, they'll test your battery for free. All right. So we could take this up to get it tested. You know what? Hey, sir, ma'am, no, your battery will take a charge. You know, leave it with us, come back and pick it up the next day. Well, you just saved yourself potentially about $200, okay? The battery that I'm putting in, I sourced for about 100, and that was through painstaking scrutiny using Amazon. I don't particularly use Amazon when it comes to major parts. But there are some reputable sellers and you know, well-known factory stores, i.e. Bosch, AC Delco, so forth and so on. All right, so I was able to source an auxiliary battery for $100, but for my own curiosity, just to see, I'm going to put this battery on a tender that I have and see if the tender will give me a green. So I'm gonna, you know, clean this battery up, but in this case we're replacing it, so let's keep going. Hopefully that information helped you. If you are in a position where, you know, you need to save some bucks. Because I can tell you, if you can salvage a battery with a charge, you know, where the battery is still healthy enough where it will take the charge, and you've got other stuff to do, well, that's $200 you could, you know, devote to you know, other parts or desires for your vehicle. Or $200 you could just save. Alrighty, come off positive cable. Okay. Alrighty. And again, if you're not aware, the reason we don't want to, you know, be barehanding this crap is it's acidic, it's caustic, all right? So it's harmful to your skin, all right? So let's get this out. Are you going to just come out? What are you going to do to help me with our viewers? And in fact, let's go ahead and just cover that negative cable up. That way we are assured. Get that out of the way. All right. Get the ratchet out of the way and come on, baby. There we go. Come out of your home. This is not Happy Gilmore. We don't want you to stay in your home. We want you to come out of your home. All right, so let's set this aside. Again, I'm gonna clean this up, put it on the tender, leave it overnight, see what happens. Okay. New battery. I'm going with AC Delco. I mean, essentially, you're looking at, you know, kind of a small engine sort of application here. So just because it doesn't say Mercedes-Benz, this is essentially just a motorcycle battery when it boils down to it. So before we do that, okay, so let us just do a comparison. Either I don't know how to read this, or there is not a date on it. Is it in the frame? Yes, it is in the frame. Oh, jeez. Why am I potentially embarrassing myself? No big deal. But 200 amps, 200 cold cranking amps. This is also 200 cold cranking amps. So forget what I was, the intent. What I was about to explain. But in any respect, okay, let's bring our positive cable out. Right. There was little to no corrosion on the positive cable, but let's just knock off what we do have. Okay, and then with the little shop towel underneath. Is it required? No, but if you have it, well, you know what? No big deal, because I love the company I used to work for, Yamaha. I have Yamalube. This is battery terminal cleaner and protectant. Okay, so I'm just going to just give a little spritz. Let that set. We're going to undo our negative cable. Clean up the little bit that fell off. Okay, put that underneath. And then we will wire brush the corrosion off of this cable. This way we have a proper connection from the cable to the battery. Get as much of this crap off, and you really should actually be wearing a mask. As you can see, we're getting dust. Knock off as much as you can. Then we will come in with a little spritz of our cleaner protectant. Give a little spritz there. Scrub, scrub, scrub a dub. Okay, where the wire brush won't get to, we can, where's my little flat head? Sorry for being in front of the camera like that. Where did my flat head go? Well, actually, here it is. Okay. I'm just going to get in here, knock that bit of corrosion out where the wire brush won't get to. Okay, now give a little spritz. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Scrape, scrape, scrape. Knock that off. Alright. Grab our little smaller wire brush. Nah, I don't like that. Where's the big one? There we go. Okay. Alright, that's good enough. Let me not say that's good enough. That is clean. Now we'll just wipe this down, and let me come and look at the frame. Let's zoom in, and you can see we've got corrosion-free terminals now. Alrighty, let's zoom out. Okay, let's get back to work. So effectively, we have tackled the first project on this vehicle. We're just going to go in reverse fashion. Come out of the way. Battery goes in. Now we can get our stubby. Again, these terminals don't need to be cranked down with a lot of torque. And making rookie mistakes. There you go. Now you are on there. Start your bolt by hand. I thought I had it on there. Alrighty, and it's tight. Now we come in with our negatives. Okay, and we are tight. Grab our top cover. Get it over the hooks. There are 3 hooks. Line those up with the hole. And don't make me out to be a liar. Battery box. Get that out of the way. There we go. Okay. Top cover is back on. Now, next thing we want to do is grab our ventilation tube. Let's run that underneath so we don't have any kinks. Ventilation tube back in place. Okay. Line up with the track. And now we want you to Happy Gilmore and go to your home. Oh Lordy. Come on. There we go. Come on. Line up for your keys. Line up. There we go. I think that's it now. All right. In the way. Now, pay attention to what you're doing, sir. You come out. You come out of the way. You come out of the way. There. Our vent tube came off of the little housing there. Okay, so obviously you've got to move your SAM out of the way. Then it goes back into its home. Then let's make sure, yep. Then we can put our SAM back in its place. Okay, this connector can go back, and then it goes back to its home right there. And then we can put our 2 retaining nuts back on. 1, 2, and I probably should have at least sprayed just a little bit of the protectant on the terminals, but I think there's enough residue on there that it'll be fine. So with the retaining nuts, you should just be able to run these down with your extension by hand and call it a day. That's 1. Let's get our light out of the way. That's 2. And number 3 for the bottom. There we go. And that is secure. Let's put our electrical connector back on the courtesy lamp, which goes which way did it go? Did it go up top? No, it goes underneath. Put our 12 volt accessory back on. That went in this way. Okay. Get our microfiber out of the way. And just once it's over, I'm good with that. Put this back in place. Okay, I'm lifting up this this rubber covering because there are clips at the upper portion of the beauty cover. The trim cover goes over. Okay. And there, and then I will come back and stuff that underneath like so, tucking in the lip. Right? Right. Okay. Now, that is back in place. Okay. Let's get one of our cargo net retainers. And where are you? I'm sorry for being in front of the camera. Here we go. Yep. So on this one, you've got a locator tab, if you will. So that locator tab goes in, it's one little small hole, and then the screw follows. Oh, good Lord. I'm making this more difficult on myself. Let's get you started. There we go. Okay, again, just gonna leave that loose. We'll get our little plastic automotive nuts. Okay, we'll put one back there. And the reason I'm leaving it loose because we just want to make sure that we get everything lined up correctly, so that, you know, everything goes back to its home. Let's move that stuff out of the way. And we will put our trim piece, chrome trim piece, back in place. So automotive clip. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You don't want to crush these. So what I would normally do is I'd spray just a bit of a silicone spray, you know, just to give a slight little lubrication. But 1, 2, 3. So just line up your holes with the clips. Come on. I see you. You have to go to your home. Come on. Come on. There we go. Well, this is why you keep stuff out of the way. Work neatly. There. Now, trim piece is back in place. So that means that essentially we can put the shelf, not the shelf, good Lord. Can put that back in, and then we can just finish out our clips all the way around. All right. Again, I'm crunched for time, so let's save this for last. This is light work. Let's get our tools. Get our tools out of the trunk, and let's move up to the front.